So good to see so many of you here this morning. I thought I would start, because I do see new faces, with a little Forum 101. My name is Kathy Heavers. I'm the facilitator for the day. Our team of facilitators includes Barbara Bynum, Judy Ann Files, Phoebe Benziger, who's our timer today, Steve Matheny, who is our host. He's the director of CMU. And lest you think this is a glamorous job, the criteria for being a facilitator is you'll show up and do your job. And that's pretty much it. You have to be committed to lining up 50 programs a year, contacting speakers, doing the write-up for the email, showing up at 7:30 in the morning, no later, to unlock the doors, knowing how to run all the technology, facilitating the program, and cleaning up afterwards. And Barbara and I have been doing this since 2012. I asked Steve Woody when Forum began, and some of you may know that. He thought around 2006.
9.
It was 9. So, how many of you started with Forum in 2009? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Quite a few of you. Good turnout. Good. Thank you for staying so faithful. Our purpose is simply to inform. We have no agenda. We're not connected with any group. We're poor. We have no budget. When we had to find a new place, Forum, as you may recall, outgrew Heidi's. When we had to find a new place, I knew of this room, but it was really ugly. And so we came to CMU and said, we need a room, we need it for 100 people, we need it every single week from 8 to 9 a.m. We need it with the latest and greatest technology, and we need it for free. And there weren't many people willing to take us up on that. Barbara and I hit the streets looking. But they ran it up the flagpole, had to go through all the VPs in Grand Junction to the president, and he liked the idea. He liked the idea that Montrose citizens would show up on the CMU campus every Wednesday morning to learn something. And so we waited for 9 months for this room. CASA took us in the meantime. We got the room, and that's why we are here at Forum. Again, no agenda, no commitment to any other organization. It's just all of you and us, the 5 of us. We do, because of COVID, and this has been huge, want to recognize Will Woody, who shows up to tape this. We have 578 people right now on our Forum email. And for those who are still kind of squeamish about coming back, they're watching the videos and they tell us that. So we want to thank Will for showing up to do that each week. And we want to thank all of you. If we didn't have an audience, obviously, there would not be a Forum. We are happy to present today the people running for City Council. But before I do that, I'd like to recognize Lisa. Will you stand up? Lisa Del Piccolo is the city clerk, And she's the one in charge of organizing this whole election. And Tressa will be taking the mic shortly. She is our county clerk and recorder, and she's in charge of the ballot process. So without further ado, the way we're going to run this is I'm going to give the mic to Tressa. Tressa will hand it off to Paul, and then we'll just have the city council candidates speak. They'll introduce themselves, give us a little bit of information about their background. They have been asked to state 2 or 3 things they think are good about the city. Somehow we have to make sure the good gets out there. And then 2 or 3 things that they think the city will need to address moving forward. We will not entertain questions, but instead, if you have questions at the end, please address them to whomever. While I'm thinking of your input, the forum team is meeting tomorrow at 10:30 to plan next quarter. And so if you have any program ideas, things you would like, please see one of us and give us that input so that we can put that in our pool of brainstorming and consider that tomorrow. We're always open for program suggestions. It looks like Paul, our guest, didn't come, so we will move from Doug to actually Anthony is out of town, and we have a video of him doing all of the things that we asked him to do. So Doug will have the mic, then we'll hear from Anthony, then he'll pass it off to Ed, and we'll finish up that way. Phoebe will be timing, and they are each allotted 8 minutes. And if Phoebe gets to 8 minutes, they're in trouble. So Phoebe will let them know. And I think that's it. Those are all the nuts and bolts. That's Forum 101. And Tressa, it's all yours.
Again, I'm Tressa Gines. I'm your county clerk and recorder. And you heard the word county, not city, and you wonder, what does the county have to do with this? Well, the law designates me as the clerk and recorder as the coordinated election official. I'm also the designated election official for the county, which means that I coordinate with all of the municipal elections when they have their election. Lisa's team and my team, we work great together. And in this capacity, what we do, I have sample ballots here. So Lisa and her team, they collect the ballot content. So they're the ones that collect the petitions and all of the information as to whose name should be on the ballot. She certifies it through the council, provides it to us, and we build the ballot. So we literally create this and create the sample, and then we use our print vendor for printing this ballot. We mail it out. We have the database for all of the registered electors who reside in the city, which is key. You have to reside in the city to be eligible to vote for this election. If you live in the county, you are not eligible. You will not get a ballot. You will automatically be mailed a ballot if you're registered and live in the city. We provide the sample ballots because it's a really cool tool for the voters to be able to pick it up. It's really great to see this much interest today because you can look at these, you can hear from the candidates, you can mark your ballot, your sample ballot, and then when you get your real ballot in the mail, then you've gotten an idea of what you want to do and who you want to support and the candidate that you want to vote for. So when you do get it, vote it and mail it in. Lisa's office will be the return address on the envelope, on the outside of the envelope. You need to sign it as always and date it as always. She receives all of those, but then she coordinates with us to count the votes. So that's the coordination piece with the city. Do we have any questions? No? Okay, next.
I finally got to be number one at something. Sounds great. If you have trouble filling out your ballot, stop and see me. I'll give you a hand with it. I'm Doug Glasville. I'm running for District 1 City Council. I was born and raised in a small rural community in Iowa. I made the mistake one summer of coming out to Colorado, and I never went back home. While in college, I met my wife. We were married several years ago. More than probably some of the people in here are old. We lived in the Denver area. We lived in Greeley. I went to work. I was actually an electrician by trade. Went to work for IBM where I was doing construction management. I spent 30 years with IBM. I worked in Boulder, worked in Tucson, in the Dallas, Texas area. And that's why they call it IBM. I've been moved. During that time, I had construction background, doing the construction management. I got into working in security business when I was in Tucson. We were doing a lot of security upgrades, and my construction background was utilized in making certain that we could control our assets, both physical and intellectual. When I was in Dallas, I had managed an organization where we did security, safety, and emergency management. And along the way, they sent me to a few of the police academies to pick up a few things like interrogation, negotiations on bomb threats, other items. I had to deal with some rape situations, and those are, I really have a lot of heart for the police department, what they have to deal with and the training they go through. My time in Montrose, we moved here in '04. I didn't have a lot to do, and I had past experience working in Texas in a small community I lived in. I spent 4 two-year terms on the city council there. So when I got here, I didn't have a lot to do. I started visiting and going to the county commissioners meetings. I started going to the city council meetings, and that's how I really got to know the community itself. People would ask me, why in the world are you going to the council meetings and going to the county commissioners meetings? And I told them it was the cheapest entertainment in town. Right, Bill? I got to watch Bill in 2 positions. I think it's very important to have a background in this. I was on a couple of county boards, and then I got on the city planning commission, and that was really a great learning tool to move into a position of being on the city council. It's a lot of work, it takes a lot of time, and you have to go into it with a very positive attitude. If you're going in there because you're angry about something, or you're wanting to make changes that are totally different than the direction the town is going, you have to remember one thing right up front. You're one member of that city council. You're part of the team. And it's really a team effort. And it's not just being a team member for the council. We have a city staff that we work with, and being a team member with them also. And then all of the community. When you look at the city as a whole, we're part of that city team. We're taking input from people, and we're making the decisions that we feel are proper and correct for taking us forward. I think some of the major programs that we have done here, I think the rec center was one of the greatest things the community has done. We do have a new amphitheater, and I think we've had one program out there, and it's been very successful. So I think a lot of the things we've done are very positive. Our trail system, I think the recreation that we have created in this community, we've created something for everyone. So I think by providing that, we're really trying to make inroads into making this a major home for people who want to move here. I think one of the things I see happening right now, we're starting to get much more housing being constructed. We know we have a shortage, prices are high. People trying to build a home are paying tremendous prices just for parts and materials. And that's probably going to continue. But the more homes we can build, the more housing developments we have, or apartments, the better I believe that we will be here. And we're starting to see more businesses move into town. I think that the Colorado Outdoors has been a very positive step for the city. And we're getting businesses in that are paying better wages than maybe some of what we've had in the past. So I think those are all positive steps and things that we're doing. We get a lot of questions about the Colorado Outdoors. And I don't think many people realize that that's being paid for by the taxes that will be taxed on that property. When that property was nothing but an old gravel pit and trash dump, the taxes on it were stabilized. Every member of a taxing entity in the area is on the board for the Montrose economic redevelopment of that area. So those taxes were set. Those tax entities are only making off of that property what was originally established. So the tax base, as it goes up, collected by the county, will go back to pay for the expenses that the city and others have put into that. So it's kind of a self-fulfilling and self-payoff. It's a 25-year program, and if necessary, we can expand it beyond that. It seemed like it got off to a slow start, but all of a sudden we're seeing a tremendous demand for uses out there for the properties. So I think that's a real positive aspect. Many times when we're having to deal with expansions, annexations, developments, and rezoning, we do get criticism on that. We get people who complain about it. But as a team, we're looking at what can best be our long-term goal, and how can we get there, and how can we continue with the quality of life that we have in the city. And that was one of the reasons when we moved back to Colorado, we did a lot of looking at where we wanted to go, and we determined that Montrose was that location. And we certainly never regretted being here at all. So I appreciate your opportunity. I look forward to any support. I don't pay for that. If you want to vote for me right straight out, that's great. So I do appreciate you guys showing up. I appreciate the fact that you are involved, and we look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you very much.
Okay, now we'll have the video from Anthony Russo. We hope. Do you need help?
Hello, my name is Anthony Russo. I live here in Montrose and have for the last decade. I have my wife, Linda Russo, who works for Montrose County, and I have 6 children, most of which were actually raised here in Montrose. I own a company, Trade Up International, and I've owned that company since 2005. And over the last decade, I have had that company here in Montrose, accessing the entire world right from our airport down the street. And really have helped numerous companies and worked with numerous agencies here in town, whether it be Region 10, SBDC, trying to really spur economic development here for our community.
Can you explain why you are running for Montrose City Council?
Absolutely. I have been on City Council now since April of last year, where I was appointed, and I really see the need for us to look at what we're doing today and how we'll impact tomorrow. Finding ways where we can responsibly grow as a community and really incorporate economic development, infrastructure growth, and what we're doing for our children and what we're going to leave behind and creating an environment that our children can come back home to. I want my kids to be able to live here, grow here, and raise their families here, just like I was fortunate enough to do.
Describe what you consider to be 2 or 3 of the most positive aspects presently occurring in the city.
Absolutely. I think that we have a very large sense of community as we've seen through the development of our comprehensive plan over the last few years, and then the implementation of that comprehensive plan. The entire community came together and really voiced their opinion, and it was heard. We have great city employees who took that and are implementing those strategies to try to build an environment that the community is proud of. I think that we've done a great job at increasing our exposure as a community and bringing new companies and new entities into play to really grow our economic base and to get us off the reliance of tourism and hospitality, creating additional jobs. I also think that we've done a great job in the last few years of really looking at the housing situation, how we can support housing diversity. I think that we've done a decent job at really implementing some strategies recently that would help grow that. I think that over the pandemic years, we'll say the last 2 years, we grew exponentially without really understanding what that looked like. But we were caught a little off guard, but because the city was prepared and took the steps necessary previously, we were able to quickly implement strategies to help grow housing diversity. It's not here 100% yet, but we have in the future and in the next few years a number of opportunities coming up because they're in development right now.
And could you identify 2 or 3 issues you believe need to be addressed moving forward?
Absolutely. I think that looking at that rapid growth and housing diversity brings on challenges as well. Infrastructure, for instance, growing the streets and making sure that we're able to do that. The interior streets are currently being restructured to try to alleviate some of the pressures of traffic, but that traffic exists, and so we're trying to take steps to help alleviate that situation right now, but I think that's something we can continue to work on in the future. I think other services that we require as a community, looking at childcare, looking at our safety, and the growth of the police department and things that need to happen there to continue to offer those services to our community that are necessary and required. And I think that another challenge is really getting those businesses in here. We've been working really hard over the last few years. We've got a great economic base when it comes to manufacturers. We have the Colorado Outdoor Program that's been wonderful, but I think we need to still attract additional businesses to create high-end jobs. And I think we're seeing a little bit of that even with the new medical centers that are being built that will create almost a mecca here in Montrose on the western slope for the medical tourism, or even those who are seeking assistance here on the western slope, or those who are retiring here and need services to support them. I think we're seeing that happen, but I think right now we're growing into that versus already having it in place.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome. My name is Ewbury. I'm running for District 2 City Council. I have to admit, a pretty impressive knowledge of what's happening in the city. I know that recently I was out talking to some people just to find out what's happening, and I noticed from their comments that I was out of touch with the city of Montrose. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go around and ask him questions. First of all, I'm a native to Montrose. I was born and raised here on a farm just east of town, which is now houses. And I've seen Montrose grow from gravel roads to asphalt roads, and I've seen Montrose change. I'm not interested in saying, oh, I want Montrose to be like it used to be, because it can't. But I can tell you that I think there's things that we should do. I know there's things that happen in Montrose that are positive, and there are things that aren't positive. I've been married for 50 years. I have a couple of grandkids living here, and I realize that standing up here right now, I'm really, well, nervous. And I'll get over it. I can tell you this, that one-on-one, I'm not a very nervous person. I was raised on a farm, so I do know how to talk individually. But in a group, this is hard for me to come up with things to say that probably make sense. To address what I feel are some of the issues here in town is that while out walking around talking to people and getting information, one of the really important things that the people have brought up is, in fact, growth. And they're talking about the traffic here in town. The traffic, the streets, how the streets need to be repaired, how the downtown, which we have a downtown program, have brick and curb and gutter all nice, that is starting to crumble and it's starting to heave. And so the things that make Montrose unique are starting to disappear. Our old part of town, you go over there to the northeast part of town, the roads, the streets are in dire repair. The sidewalks are in repair, need repair. There's no handicap ramps. I saw a lady pushing her walker not too long ago down in that part of town that was sitting there having to lift it up to get over the sidewalks, the humps in the sidewalk. Bicycle paths on Sunnyside, which is quite a busy area, lacking repairs. It's nice that we're spending a lot of money at the northwest part of town on a strip mall and a bicycle path, sidewalk going all the way down the river. But if you want to get there, you got to hop in your car, you got to drive all the way down there, and we're talking about sustainability. You know, what's Montrose going to be like in 10 years, in 20 years? Our infrastructure's falling apart. Granted, I heard from the city manager that this year budget, they added another $3 million. Well, what that $3 million for the new water line that's going in, which is costing several millions of dollars. But what about the other infrastructure in the other parts of town? We need to take care of what we have. What does Montrose want to be when we grow up? Well, maybe what we need to do is get together with the county and the city and develop a master plan. What are we going to, a land use plan? What are we going to do with the land? I know from previous experience, because I've been on the council before, several terms, that at one time, growth was paying for itself. Is it paying for itself now? I don't know. That's why maybe I need to get involved with the city so that I can find out for sure, so that we know what is important. What's Montrose going to be like when we grow up? That was a remark that somebody told me. And somebody that told me that also said that, and to use an old cliche, that East Montrose, Main Street, felt like the red-headed stepchild. Well, I want you to know that when I was younger, I had red hair. Number two, I was a stepchild. My stepfather raised me on a farm east of town. So I can tell you this, that we have issues, and we need to think about what these issues are. We can't spend our money. I know, for example, just recently, the city received a grant for $1 million for the strip mall, I call it, but Colorado Outdoors. It has a matching 1-to-1. Now, I don't know where that money comes from, sales tax, but my question is the lady that's building the cookie store over there by the Looney Bean, did she get anybody to build her a kitchen? No, I don't believe so. We could spend our money a little bit wiser. For example, Sharing Ministries, or no, the what?
Shepherd's Hand.
Yeah, Shepherd's Hand. Hey, we're spending $500,000 in a grant to put in a kitchen for a restaurant when Shepherd's Hand didn't get nothing to build their kitchen, which is serving the needs of the community here. Not only that, but they serve Meals on Wheels. They cook the meals for the wheels over there. I think that the city council needs to be more responsive to the needs of the community as a whole and not just a small group. So anyway, I thank you. I ask for your support at this election, and I'm open to anybody that wants to talk. I apologize for my attire, but like many of the working poor, I have to go to a job right after I leave here. And that's another issue, housing. I mean, I know that we got $1 million grant for that over there, but what about affordable housing? Maybe in our land use plan, we could decide, hey, where are we going to put housing for low income? Thank you. Well, have a wonderful day. I'll see you later.
Good morning. My name is David Reed. I'm running for City Council District 3. I do happen to be running unopposed, but I don't take that lightly. I think I am committed to this job, and I'm committed to running a campaign regardless of the fact that I am fortunate enough not to have an opponent. But a little bit about me and my background. My wife Debbie and I have lived here, moved in here in the fall of 1978. I attended undergraduate school at the University of Louisiana, graduated from the South Texas Law School at Houston, and came here to begin my private practice, which I've been doing ever since then. We raised our daughter Kate here in Montrose. Our daughter made us very proud of her. She was on the U.S. ski team, competing in World Cup events, and was the 2006 national champion. So, and we've got 2 grandkids now who are following and seem to be following in their mother and father's steps. So we're very proud of them. Why am I running for city council? Probably a lot of reasons, but primarily, and this sounds like an old cliche, but I'm running to serve my community because my community has been good to me and my family, and I feel a need to continue to give back. I have previously served on the city council in the early 2000s and was appointed again last year to fill an unexpired term, and now it's necessary for me to run for election. But it's really important to give back to your community. And we're all very fortunate to live here, to be a part of this community, and I want to continue to do that. The good things about our community, number one, I could probably use all 8 minutes speaking about what's good about this community. You know, all too often we are trapped into saying the negative things, what's bad about your community. Well, folks, we have a lot of good things in this community that we should be very proud of. You know, Montrose is kind of considered the rising star of the western slope of Colorado, and we have good reason to be known as that. And we need to continue to foster that and work for that. The things that I think that are positive, if I have to name 1 or 2, I think it's the involvement with Colorado Mesa University, growing in this community, this campus, where we are today. This didn't exist a few years ago. And the university is committed to this community and growing this community. Steve Matheny's doing a great job. I was fortunate enough to serve on the board of trustees of the university and as chairman of the board. So I have a good connection there and know that they are dedicated and committed to growing this university in Montrose. We are a university town. When we moved here, we couldn't say that. In fact, that was one of the things that we thought long and hard about when we moved here, because there was not a college, there was not a university. And I think that's really important to the lifeblood of a community. Things we need to look at and work on. Number one, others have said this, we do have a housing crisis, folks, we really do. And we need affordable housing, we need market-based housing, and we need workforce housing. But without proper and adequate housing, we are not going to be able to sustain the growth that we see occurring. And so, it's a chicken and egg thing in a way, but we have to have that resource in order to continue to grow our economy. And then I think that one of the other things that I think we need to continue to foster is the cooperation between all of the governmental entities, the city, the county, the school district, the hospital. We all need to work as one team and move this community forward and continue to move this community forward. I'm proud to be a citizen of this community, and I'm proud to serve in this community, and I want to continue to do so. Thank you.
I'm with Ed. It's nerve-wracking. I usually am not nervous when I'm standing up here with a microphone, but when you're talking about yourself and you're running, even if you're unopposed, it's just different. Your heart starts going a little faster. My name is Barbara Bynum, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to Forum. It's nice to be here. I am currently on the City Council. I was appointed to council in 2017 and then ran for re-election after those terms. I'm the at-large seat on City Council, which means the person in the at-large seat can live anywhere in the city, and you run for 2-year terms, which is why it seems like you see me a lot, because every 2 years, as opposed to the 4-year terms that the rest of council runs for. I've been thinking a lot about what it takes to be a good city councilor, and I think it takes someone who is at their heart a planner. And I am that. I am definitely a planner. My husband and I have been married almost 28 years, and when we agreed to get married and go on a life adventure together, we had a plan, and we're executing that plan. He was in medical school at the time, and we agreed that in order to have the family that we wanted to have, I would stay home and take care of our kids after helping work for a couple of years to put him through school. And I'm lucky enough to be able to say I was a stay-at-home mom for a long time. I got my start in volunteer and service in this community in the classroom for my kids. And then I went up to being in charge of the fundraiser, and then I became the PTA president. And then there was an opening on the school board, and I had never considered being in an elected position before, but I loved that opportunity and joined our Montrose school board in 2009. And subsequently ran for re-election successfully once and unsuccessfully a second time, at which point I decided I needed to continue to serve our community, and I looked around for ways I could help and thought that having seen amazing rec centers in other communities, I thought our community could benefit one. So I joined a citizen group, and we put together a plan for a rec center, and we executed on that plan and that vision. It meant joining the rec center board of directors as an elected position. But the fruits of all that work are the beautiful rec center that just celebrated its 5-year anniversary. And then, after serving on the rec center board, I attended a program in state and local government back east that convinced me that state and local government specifically had an amazing ability to impact people on their day-to-day lives. I think we spend a lot of time consuming news on the federal level, but really the day-to-day life, I think, is really local government. And so I thought, I really would love to be involved in that. And so in 2017, I applied for an opening on city council and was appointed, and have been serving ever since on city council. In the same way that my husband and I had a plan that we've been executing for 30 years, the city of Montrose has a plan. And we had a great opportunity as a community to relook at that plan and redo it. And it's our comprehensive plan. And it's the guiding document for the city of Montrose. We had a lot of citizen engagement leading up to the final version of that comprehensive plan, multiple stakeholder meetings, both in English and in Spanish, and put together a plan for what our city thought was important. And that plan is available on the city's website. And I bet you, any one of you, if you went and looked up that plan, you'd find pieces of it that you would really care about, and other pieces of it that aren't as important to you. It addresses our need for more trails and connectivity. It addresses our need for housing and what that should look like. It addresses our need for road infrastructure. It addresses our need for economic development, more better paying jobs. So that comprehensive plan really is the guiding document on how we make decisions at the city. And one thing that we've been doing recently is every time we have a decision in front of us, staff does a great job of citing what piece of the comprehensive plan should be influencing our decision. So those decisions aren't just made on a whim or in a vacuum. They're made as we go back and we look at that comprehensive plan and why we're doing what we're doing, and knowing that that comprehensive plan was put together by the community at large through all of those different stakeholder meetings. I think there are a number of things the city is doing well. You know, it's been 2 years since we were here campaigning to be on city council, and in that 2 years time, a lot has changed and a lot has stayed the same. I was reviewing my notes, and I'm really proud to say that some of the things I said were really important 2 years ago are things the city has been actively working on since. I'll start with a really easy one. Roads. We do a lot of capital projects, absolutely. The Hillcrest extension, that'll connect as soon as Woodgate is done, very soon. And you'll be able to get all the way from north to south without actually getting on Townsend, so that'll help with traffic. So those are major projects, but in addition to the major projects, roundabouts, those are expensive. In addition to those, we said, you know, we need to put more money just to maintenance, just to taking care of what we already have. And that $3 million that we put in our 2022 budget was specifically for maintenance on roads. So you'll see them out there fixing potholes every day this week. It's a cold fix this time of year. It's not a hot pothole fix, so they know it's temporary, but it helps until the asphalt batch plant opens up and they're able to patch those better. So that $3 million is going to maintenance. The other things we talked about 2 years ago that we've been able to accomplish are public safety. It was interesting that didn't come up at all so far today, because I think we can almost check the box on that one. A huge issue 2 years ago, and we've accomplished that. You all have seen the new police building go up, and you know that we've hired many new police officers, and we've increased the co-response program as well, and their crisis intervention training and the equipment that we provide them, and I'm really proud of the public safety we've done. But housing is an issue. We've made a lot of headway, a lot of planning that I don't know that anyone is seeing yet. Because there's 2 new apartment buildings going in. The one by North Bank is on its 3rd story, so that'll be finished sooner rather than later, I think this summer. And as we bring in more housing opportunities, I think that'll help stabilize the prices. The other big issue that I'm passionate about is early childhood education. Some of you would call that daycare, but I think that's a vital piece of our economy. As we grow and we provide better paying jobs, people need a place. Families, usually both folks are working, they need a place for their children to be looked after during that time. So housing, childcare, streets, I think those are the things that consume my attention. They also happen to make up basically the big pieces of our budget. We spend about 1/3 of our budget on streets and public works. We spend about 1/3 of our budget on police, and then 1/3 of our budget on other stuff. And those are kind of the issues I'm passionate about. I love serving on city council. I love the ability to take a plan and execute it and have that plan be reflective of our community's input. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
We are bit early so that you will have time to visit with any of these people. We're sorry that Paul didn't make it. Hopefully he's all right. He did respond that he would be here. And for those of you who did come, thank you for your time. Thank you for your input, and especially thank you for being willing to serve our community. We always need people to step up, and you've done that. Next week, it's Phoebe's turn, so she will talk about what next week is going to look like.
You guys, thank you very much. That was very informative, and actually next week is a good segue on what all of you talked about today. It's the city's growth and improvements and capital improvement. I'm going to take one of the statements that David said, the chicken and the egg. We've got the chicken and the egg here next week. We've got Jim Scheid with the city planning, or city public works, thanks Amy, and also Scott Murphy, who's the city engineer. You guys talked about growth. The growth has exceeded our expectations, so they're scrambling and they're doing a good job working with the comprehensive plan. They will have a slideshow to talk about what's coming up. You've got good questions. I know I can feel it in the room already. They'll answer these questions. And so, yeah, next week, the 9th. And remember, Election Day is April the 5th, right? Yes. Right, Tessa? Yes. So, yeah, so all ballots need to be in by April the 5th. So, yeah, thanks again, you guys. It was a great job, and we'll see you next week.